One. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Divi Spaces on another Friday. Thanks for joining us. I'm your host, Renik, and we've got The Voice and Rob co-hosting as usual. And we should also have Josh joining us later on as well. Just quickly, at Divi, we are about making crypto easy and accessible for everyone everywhere. This year, we've been pushing hard on utility, and we'll be talking about that too. And if you go to any of our websites, you'll see we are talking about that as well through our roadmap across Divi Wallet and Divi Project Price as well. Today, we've got lots of questions from our community, and we will discuss those between the 3-4 of us. I think without further ado, we can jump straight on to that, shall we? Unless you want to do a quick update, Voice, on everything.
Well, obviously everybody's been following the Divi 3.0 transition. We're still hanging out on average around 20%. You may not see it though if you look at Chains. Chains is pretty much fully migrated over. You might see an occasional 214 or lower daemon ping on their list of available nodes. Obviously, you don't want to use any of those. But we do have an internal explorer. You might have seen it before, but there are some explorers that we have that are built by beta bashers. And so we're leaving one up that's actually watching those who haven't migrated over. And so there's still a fair amount. I mean, you got the 80-20 rule. In this case, it's still where 80% has migrated. Maybe about 18% hasn't migrated. Somewhere in there is a rough number. And so we're still migrating. We're still in that transition. That doesn't mean that anything is stopping. So there's lots of things we'll talk about shortly that is going on with the migration itself. But everybody needs to just download the new daemon and sync. It seems to be that it's mainly manual integrations. That means people who have nerded out and done it themselves, and maybe they're running on a Raspberry Pi, or maybe they're running on maybe it's Box Wallet that they haven't updated, because I know that Richard has updated the Box Wallet. So if you have a Box Wallet, make sure you have that updated. You communicate with him. I'm in direct communication with him quite often, and I know Rob is too. So we will help him, but he's all ready to go. So if you haven't updated your Box Wallet, get on it, and it will make sure that you're updated to the 3.0. So there's just a few things going on that we're upgrading in that area, and watching everybody and watching the ecosystem. So, yep.
Brilliant. Thank you so much.
Oh, one last thing. If you have an old master node, open up your desktop and make sure you dismantle that node, because of course the blockchain doesn't listen to that master node anymore. So you want to make sure that you dismantle that node that's in your desktop, because you're sovereignly in control of it. And then B, you're also sovereignly in control of your subscriptions. So make sure you dismantle those. If you have a question about your subscription or a question about the dismantling, make sure you put it in at support.diviproject.org.
Cool. Also, hey, I want to kind of, before we get into these questions, I kind of want to hit on a topic. We've discussed this many times over the last few years, but it looks like we need to reiterate that the Divi project is about the blockchain, and our the staking we do, previously the master nodes, and that development is organized by the Divi Foundation, right? And so, but like other blockchains, like Bitcoin and like other blockchains, there are companies that build their goods and services on top of the blockchain, and those are tend to be, sometimes they're nonprofit, sometimes they're for-profit, and that's what Divi Labs is. Divi Labs is a for-profit company that builds goods and services on top of the Divi blockchain, and now other blockchains also, right? So they do, some of the stuff that they're looking at in Web3 is also is on other blockchains, Divi related, and bringing it back to Divi through the eDivi token and so forth, or PDivi for Polygon and so forth. So that is a for-profit company that provides goods and services on and related to the Divi blockchain. So we're going to go through a whole bunch of questions here. Voice and I and so forth, we can definitely speak to foundation stuff, the blockchain itself. But when it comes to labs, it's a private company. And we'll do our best, and we'll talk historical stuff. We'll definitely be able to reiterate. But forward-looking statements, the company will release forward-looking statements as they can release forward-looking statements. We'll do our best.
Absolutely.
And I want to just add that, when we talk about, I'll just add this and then we can start ripping through it, is that Divi Labs, Nick is the CEO of Divi Labs. Divi Project, really, even though the name itself is a project, it's really Divi Foundation. That doesn't have, Nick is not in charge of that aspect of it. He's the CEO of the for-profit Divi Labs.
Yep.
Yeah, clarification. And also, we hope to see others soon be building on the open source blockchain. That I will add.
Yeah. Yep. All right. Let's see here. So, hey, boys, you want to tell me where all these questions came from?
So we had so over the last week or so, we've had several questions come in through the Jot form, and some of those questions, there's probably, I think, 24 questions. We won't hit all of them, I don't think, unless we have all the information that we can speak about, and of course anything labs related, maybe not. But yeah, so they all came in through the Jot form. I am so excited when everybody uses that link to throw in their questions. It helps share, because some people might be thinking about a question, but they don't mention it, right? Maybe somebody's shy. Maybe they just don't want to post it on Discord, and again, it gets lost in Discord. Maybe they just don't want to do it. So thank you to those who actually send the questions in. I don't have them when they're being answered. I kind of cut out the who sent it, so it's just a straight question. And then, of course, like this morning, we kind of put who is the person who can kind of answer those kinds of things. So thank you again. It's the Jot form. It's the form that says, do you have, more or less, I'm going to paraphrase, suggestions, ideas, bugs, partnerships. It's kind of, it's not a catch-all, but it is no, that's one. This is the Twitter Spaces form. It's specifically for you to voice questions and opinions about things. So thank you again for filling these out.
All right, cool. So let's hit these. Okay, well, the first one is about La Liga. So can we please have an update on La Liga and Divi Wallet and what we're waiting on to unpause? So let's just go back in the history real quick, because so the pause vernacular was used in or was put forth in 2021. Since then, I asked Nick to have a Spaces with me, where we kind of went over. We spent 2 hours and we reviewed kind of the history of Divi up until then, and that was in March. And we talked about La Liga, and the issue at the time with La Liga. I mean, the result at the time, which is really no different than now, is that the way it was dealt with was we got this telecom deal. That was signed, and this answers a later question. That was signed, but then they didn't. They didn't come up with money, and that led into the La Liga deal. And so we were in that position there, and that was in March. And since then, both the market for us and for them have deteriorated. So it's not a it's not a thing where we can just say, we'll just get right back on track. We're moving on, and we're doing other stuff. So it's not, I wouldn't even use pause as that for anymore. So we really need to move on from that.
I think we could probably link. I believe we recorded that Spaces where Nick did. Was it a space or was it a YouTube? It was a YouTube, wasn't it?
No, I think it was a space.
It was a space. Maybe we can find the Spaces, and then that can be linked to this if we know what date it was. That would be great.
It was after March 2nd.
All right, well, let me take a look at YouTube. Hold on one second.
Sure. So we can put that in there. So that answers both and later there's a telecom deal. I'll get there in a second. Development of Dubai partnerships and the MOUs again. So that's why I kind of mentioned in the beginning about Divi Labs being a private company, and it's very different. It's not in their interest to discuss things that are not set in stone yet. Nick is still out there working on Dubai. I know that I've been in meetings. I know that that all those discussions are going on. It works at the snail's pace of the Dubai kind of financial system, and there's not really much else that we can really say on that.
Yeah, we had multiple conversations. Like people are, Nick is pushing all the time, but it really moves very slowly. That part of the world. Unfortunately, that's
it's pretty painful.
Yeah.
I don't. I thought where I live is bad in Puerto Rico, but wow. The next one is the telecom deal. So it's not just one of our prospective sources of financing in the future, like this question is claiming. It was pretty significant at the time, and the end result is, if they don't come through with the money, even if they sign a contract, then they haven't come through with the money. Now, we have written it off. However, I know that they are still pinging back with it, still pinging back about following through on this. So I'm not really sure what else we can do about that. It's really us waiting for that.
I think it's like your previous point. We got to move on. We got to focus on what we can control, because otherwise we're waiting around. If it comes through, happy days. But if it doesn't, we just have to move on from it. Been back along.
Exactly. Yep. What exactly is Al Sadar? That is the name of the company that is in Dubai. That was just, that was a lot of the work Nick had to do to get a financial actual company over in Dubai. It has to be an Arabic name, and there's a whole bunch of other requirements that had to be done. And so that exists now. And did that take a year? Just to get that. But yeah, that's what it is. The registered name of the Divi-related company in Dubai. Now we've got a bunch of DeFi stuff here. Did Josh make it on?
No, doesn't look like it.
I'd rather go. No.
We can come back to it at the end. Maybe he might show up.
Yeah, I'd rather get that stuff from the horse's mouth. So we can skip through those. So there's another forward-looking statement here, and then ask for hard facts. So what can the community expect for 2024? Hard facts, please. So, again, can't really do the future-looking statements for labs. However, we can talk about the blockchain.
Absolutely.
Boys, you wanna chime in there?
Yeah. So as we're talking about Divi 3.0, and we talk about the future of Divi, the blockchain itself, and where we are. Once we are complete with Divi 3.0, right? So we have just a few people. This is community members. This may not be the people on the spaces. This may not be me or anybody else that's speaking right now. But it is some of coin owners out there they just might not know. Let's just say that. They just may not know. That doesn't mean that anything is stopping. Let's just say that first and foremost. First and foremost, what's going on right now with Divi the blockchain, and some of the questions we might be able to address from the questions that came through are, what are the possibilities of seeing, layer ones and those kinds of things integrated? And what are those kinds of things in the mobile wallet? And what about the desktop wallet? And what about all those things? And I will make this statement about the blockchain itself, and then I'll address those. But the blockchain has features and functionalities in it that are now being revealed. We had to have them built into it from 2 to 201 to 214. There were some 205s in there, to 215. Some of you may not even have seen 215. And now that we're at 3, what we had spoken about, in fact, I think Renuki wrote about it, maybe somebody else too, Divi subscriptions, Divi Smart. Actually, I think it was you, Rob. Divi Smart Escrow, Divi, refunds potentialities. Those kinds of features and functionalities are now in Divi 3.0. They are not ease of use, though. Just like anything that is a smart script, smart contract, like atomic swaps or multi-signatures, you have to build out the user experience for those. But some of the things that you can do even in the current engine, maybe not easily with your current wallet, are multi-wallet features and functionalities, which means that although you can't see it in the engine itself, it's possible to have many wallets. Like you could have wallet 1 and then switch to wallet 2 and switch to wallet 3 and so on. And you can have a wallet for your kids. You could have a wallet for yourself. You can have wallets for anything. And then 2, some of the other things that have changed in the engine are the accounts. And accounts really affected master nodes, right? So we are a community that used a feature in the engine that is accounts based. So when you had a master node, you would ask for an address, and then you would assign a label. That's what Bitcoin would call it. It used to be called accounts, but they would assign a label to it, and that label was your master node name. But if you ever used Tipbot was in Telegram. It was the tool that I forked and then maximized over the years. Used accounts, and there was an issue with accounts that a wallet or an owner of a wallet is the bank. And so it also owns all the accounts. And so the accounting features and functions were all boosted, built up, restructured. There's still work to do in Divi 3.0 for accounts, but accounts have been upgraded. So it's possible with new wallets. That means you generate a new wallet. You can have your accounts where they're set up as separate spendables, meaning that you could create an account for yourself or for someone else in one wallet. And then when you want to spend from that account, you will be able to spend specifically only from that account. That's a little bit different than multiple wallets. Multiple wallets can have multiple accounts in them. So yeah, there's lots of things going on. And then with the subscriptions, which is something that we have talked about that individuals may want, individuals to individuals or business to individuals, individuals to business, for contracting, for paying for things over time. Maybe you hit certain points in time and you can withdraw certain amounts of Divi for those kinds of things. That is not on hold. Testing is underway right now. I was actually watching some of the coding for that being tested yesterday. I think, Rob, you saw some too. So that is actually being actively, aggressively, passionately worked on at this moment in time. And so now that 3.0 is here, all of that work is done. Remember, 3.0 is a garden and there are no flowers in it. And now what we're seeing is flowers being planted. There's fruits being planted. It takes a lot of work. That husbandry that has to go into managing the garden has to be there. And there are devs. There is a dev, a main dev, that is working on those things. So all those things are going on in the blockchain itself. And then we also had a question about side chains. When is it possible to deploy a side chain? 3.0 is the beginning. 4.0 is side chains. So that was the thing I've mentioned many times in the past, is that 3.0 is the field that has been plowed and ready to plant. Now there's planting going on, and that planting will blossom into Divi 4.0, which will include side chains. But what does that mean? What that means for you is that side chain testing is already going on. Side chain prototyping is already going on. Examples of side chains are already being implemented on a special test net called RegNet for Divi. So there's all sorts of fun things going on. So if we're talking about work and activity, there is sweat and there's wiping of brows. There is so much going on in the blockchain itself. Divi 3.0 is an engine and they're pushing the pedal to the metal. So if you haven't updated again, make sure you update. Mobile wallet wise, I'll answer those questions. The mobile wallet, when will you see layer ones integrated into the mobile wallet? Well, if you remember Rob's articles in the past about like what's next, clean code and all of those articles which are migrating to the new website. If you remember reading those and you remember about the coding structure and how code is woven together and how weaving it together does work, but it doesn't make it necessarily able to easily upgrade or bug check or anything like that. Well, new code has been built, and that new code will be integrated in the next few months. I would hope soon, but in the next few months, we would like to see that integrated. Now, that's a labs feature and functionality. I can only speak to it from that perspective. That's not the foundation. That's not the blockchain. And that it's called modular asset integration. And what that means is that the whole structure for what coins are displayed, the entire structure for how it syncs and displays your assets, the whole ability to add and integrate other coins is changing, and it's going to be mind-blowingly easy because it's modularized. But the main point is that the old code that's been here for several years now, that old code is going to be removed, and then that old code will be then prepped, kind of like how Divi, the blockchain, had to be prepped for Divi 3.0 before we can get to 4.0. But the Divi Labs wallet will be prepped, and then a snap-in modular integration will happen for assets. And then your displays will sync faster, your coins will sync, your ability for the team to add, let's say, other layer one assets to it will be easier. And now I will also add this, that layer one assets, unlike like EVMs and layer twos, which really lean upon a few providers for access using APIs. The layer ones, in some layer ones, you have to run your own nodes and manage your own nodes. So it may come to the point to where the community is promoting different layer ones they'd like to see integrated, because a layer one integration is cooler, but it's more complicated. But with modular asset, it makes that plugin super easy. It's just about managing your own assets, which would be those other nodes, or finding a provider that allows the sync to the blockchain so you can look at like a transactional history. And that would be the same for the desktop wallet. So the desktop wallet also has the ability to integrate Web3 functionality and integrate other layer one blockchains. I think we would probably stay focused with the desktop wallet currently on its existing layer one status, because the energy and effort is going into Divi 3.0, utilizing the other features and functions on the blockchain, such as the subscriptions all the way to side chains, which is further out, as opposed to other layer ones in the desktop, right? So it doesn't mean that it can't happen. It just means that when you prioritize things, Divi, the blockchain, is the priority with the desktop application at this moment in time. Divi Labs, as Rob mentioned earlier when we spoke, is focused on Divi, the blockchain, and maximizing awareness of that Divi, the blockchain, but also integrating other coins already. So you'll see it quicker in their offering than you would see it in the foundation wallet.
Yeah, and the only thing I would add to that, it's not really an ad, it's just add color, is like, I've been talking with a blockchain engineer, and shortly he's helping me get some articles together so that we can kind of share and other people can get in on how to use those escrow and subscription features. So I will write it in the same kind of form that I wrote that old Bolts article on. It'll be for the more technically oriented people to be able to create software that utilizes this stuff.
Correct.
Instead of I don't know, it may or may not show up in a wallet, in the Labs wallet, I don't know, but the feature set being there so that we can create other people can create other goods and services associated with those features, that's what the articles will be written for.
Exactly. Well, we saw your article come almost 2 years before the integration in the desktop wallet, right?
Exactly. Yep. Exactly. All right. Let's move on to this tiny text here. So that was answering before 2024. Updates about partnership in Dubai. I feel like we already answered. So I'll move on from there. GSR. Okay, so I get the question here. So we came to a second financial milestone with GSR. And at that point, we, Labs and GSR sat down and said, how are we doing? And in both, the market was declining at the time. Market has declined even more since then. And we decided that between price, volume, access to high-end exchanges, that we decided that the relationship was not beneficial for both of us, especially for the costs. And we just continued with the other market maker that we have and have had going even before GSR. So that's what happened there. Let's see here. I've got another La Liga question. Let's see here.
I think a lot of them are, let's say, Josh questions.
Yeah, I think down to these questions, but I feel like you just hit all of these already.
Josh actually jumped in, but then he had to go because he got some emergency. So he said he'll follow up on Discord on those.
Okay.
Yeah, he said he would take all those questions that he can answer on this list. And for those of you who are in the Discord DeFi channel, remember, Divi Innovations is a separate organization, right? So that's the key thing that we want to make sure that Divi Innovations is Josh and Josh's team. It's not Divi Labs either. So Divi Innovations builds out those features and functionalities in Web3. And so that's why they've got their own special channel in there. So he will answer those and address you, hopefully, and answer your questions to your confidence in the Discord channel, which is hashtag Divi DeFi, I think. Right?
Yeah. Okay. So here's some new questions. On the mobile app, are you planning to add a sell button? We would love to add a sell button. But the entire atmosphere around off ramps is super shaky right now. And
they've been removed. Let's just be clear. The off ramps that we had, obviously, even as we migrated from Prime Trust to Simplex, Simplex had an off ramp, but even though they are probably, I'm going to say with Nuve, they're like the biggest provider of on ramp and off ramp functionality. From that integration standpoint, they had to remove their off ramp for now to reintegrate it again. So everybody is kind of pulling back. And that was, of course, as we were just talking about, it was like over the last 6 months with Gensler doing all the nasty things he's doing. And so they've all kind of pulled back a little bit on the off-ramp portion.
When the opportunity arises, we will put it in. I mean, we want to.
Absolutely, 100%.
Yeah. Okay, so what's next here is Live at 5. I think what's going to happen, I like Live at 5 also. As I think what we're going to see as we go forward, as the community kind of gets back up on its feet and expands, as it grows, we will pursue larger venues for communicating information. So the Spaces has been between like 10 and 60 or 70 people as the range. The amount of work it takes to put on those Live at 5s is a lot. And so when our reach is larger, I think we will start pursuing more bigger efforts to communicate information.
Yeah, I think the Live at 5s, when they're done really well, obviously when you have a casual conversation, like streamers will do their streaming events and they'll have it's planned out, they'll do it. When you have multiple peoples on there, if you don't really lay it out correctly, it looks like you're disheveled, right? So when you're doing video, and Ranuk, you can probably speak to this the most, your audio has to be so right on with everybody tuned just right. And what you're wearing, you can't look like you just rolled out of bed, right? So like right now, I see, you guys don't know this, but I literally just rolled out of bed. I'm just kidding. So with YouTube, you really have to prep for it. And then if you haven't done a video before, which I've done those tutorial videos, but I've done other video editing. It's a lot of video editing. So if we're going to do it, it should be, or at least encourage the team to do it, or Divi Labs to do it, and we partner with that. It would be good to make sure it's prepped, primed, presented, and then of great quality.
Absolutely, because it all has to, fit in the same way, and lots of stuff, like sometimes people record it, horizontally rather than in portrait mode. So a lot of things to factor in. And I think, again, what's the value? I think what I really like about the spaces is that we can have that live conversation back and forth. Which you wouldn't do it this live at 5 most of the time.
So the next question is, hey, Renook, what are you doing? Hard facts, please.
And if you notice, I posted underneath the marketing strategy update for Divi Labs. I posted that under because you spoke about that. Anyway, I'll stop talking.
Thank you for posting that. So I talked about it at length in terms of what we're working on. I think the biggest thing, we all talked about, the market is not in a good place right now. And so when you talk about marketing, there's lots of stuff that you see on the outside and a lot of stuff that you don't see that we are working on. And also at the same time, I have to say there's a marketing team of one right now. But what I'm doing right now is talking to loads of agencies, working on our strategy. So when things are good and good to go, or so when we see the market is going to improve, we can implement those strategies and kick things into gear. Right now, as you can see, none of the markets are growing. If you look at literally every single blockchain, every single coin, they're all red. It's not looking good. So that's what I'm working on, and obviously small bits and bobs like running the places and things like that. But mostly talking to agencies, making sure that we've got the right partners with us and we've got the right publications with us. So when things are good, we can kick things into gear. Oh yeah, and also of course, supporting on any of the things happening in Dubai, any B2B projects as well.
Yeah. So months ago, an ex-Binance executive, Ryan, entered the Divi team. Well, he's an advisor, so he doesn't have he is part. He is I forgot his title. He actually does have a title of relationships, or was it sports relationships?
Right, business development. Yeah,
business development kind of title. I apologize for not remembering. So the added value is not something that we can I can really delineate to something publicly. It's, again, this is labs, this is internal. But I can tell you that I'm in meetings where he speaks, and he definitely has a ton of connections. And I think the way that it will just have to go forward is when Labs is ready to release a relationship or release the new relationships that they're working on. Then I can talk about how he was, critical in developing that or bringing it to us and so forth. But that's basically what he's been doing. But anybody who has run a business, knows some of these relationships take years. Sometimes it's months. And we're still in that kind of area with him. All I can tell you is that I'm in the meetings. He is definitely bringing opportunities and helping Labs develop those opportunities and craft them in such a way that they're interesting to other people. But it's very difficult to actually communicate the private internal meetings publicly. That's all I can really talk about that.
Well, I think a lot of those conversations have to deal with the external things that relationships influence, and what I think directly what we can influence is the blockchain. And so that's why we tend to be more forward thinking on the blockchain and excited about the blockchain, because the blockchain is is something everybody, including everybody on this space, can touch. And obviously metaphorically, but we can use, or we're looking forward to using, where when we talk about like the relationships that Nick is building in Dubai, or we're talking about the business relationships that Ryan is building all over, right? So as you're talking about those kinds of things, that is like dating. I described that when Nick was on the call just a month and a half ago. That is like dating. The both of them are out there shaking hands, kissing babies in this COVID-friendly environment. They're kissing babies, and they're developing these relationships of integrations and partnerships. And so while we are really excited about the blockchain, and we're really excited about use cases that will influence lives in that way, it doesn't mean we're not excited about what Nick is doing. It doesn't mean we're not excited about what Labs can do. It doesn't mean we're not excited about what Ryan can do. It's just that those are intangible, where we can actually influence the tangible. I think that's probably what it comes down to.
That's great. Thank you both so much. Rob, I just put you on mute just because there was a bit of background noise. I think that pretty much covers everything. There's one last question. Rob, I think that's for you as well. I think you'll have to unmute.
Yeah, we go. Sorry. I'm at an Airbnb, and the owner came by to help us kind of look at stuff because I'm doing the Ironman here in Santa Cruz in California, or not, because my bike is actually in Salt Lake City, so that's fun. Anyway, one more question about recruitment for a senior dev going. That I can use the word on pause for that one. So we are focusing on that. Dev was for helping take on. That was for labs, and we have been pushing forward more on the blockchain. So that's that. Yep. So I just wanted to make sure we did answer all the questions.
But I also want to add that if a dev, it's not that I think there's a difference in action. It's not that we're not willing to or wanting to have a lead dev, and it's not that we wouldn't entertain the conversation or even proactively go after a conversation. It's just that the focus right now is the blockchain, right? Because labs definitely would want to engage in some situation like that.
Yeah, I think so. It's hard to it's really difficult. And these times really suck because it's hard to kind of like extrapolate the cool stuff ahead. But really, the cool stuff ahead is blockchain related.
It's blockchain, yes, exactly.
And so, but putting blockchains out there and then having companies come on and to try to instill the vision of what the cool crap we can do, we'll be able to do with the side chains, and how subscriptions lock in a trustless way of transferring money between two entities, over time. Getting the feature set in there and getting it polished and getting that working well, that's where the focus is right now. As those things get fully deployed, that's when we can start talking about this is how this company is using it. This is how this company is using it. But right now, most of the focus is on bringing new and unique feature sets to the actual blockchain, so that we can deploy them in use cases, in different market segments. And so that's basically why we're focusing mostly on the blockchain kind of development right now.
I would say excited. I would say
exclusively.
I can't underscore the glow.
There's a lot of stuff happening, but it's definitely mostly blockchain.
Yeah, it's just freaking awesome.
Maybe unless they ask that question because they want to work with us. You have that.
I'm interested.
That conversation too.
Yeah.
Wonderful. I think that's everything. And we've actually run over a little bit as well. But there was a lot of things to cover there. But yeah, like always, if you have any other questions, put your hands up now or do follow up with us anytime. And then,
Yeah, and Rob, we can hear you, so I don't think you can hear us, but
yeah, we're good. All right.
all right. Perfect. Any other questions? I noticed we had lots of posts underneath our post. One of those was mine, which was a link to your marketing. And the other one's, well, it's that same person. Where can I find that money-making bot everybody's using? I love those spam. I don't understand how Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it, can't actually search for that exact phrase because it's identical and just auto-ban those people. It's just hilarious.
Yeah. All right. I think that looks like that's it for this week.
All right.
Thank you, everyone, for joining us, and we hope to see you next week. Have good weekends.
All right.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.